Welcome to Before the Score, episode number 14. I'm Steve Samra, and we plan to give you a great show today full of NFL free agency predictions. We're going to talk about March Madness, but all that has gone to the side because breaking news, the NBA has suspended its season amid concerns of the coronavirus. So, Pablo Hernandez, tell me, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Steve, this is obviously a big deal. Um, we had been hearing about this coronavirus thing for a few months, and originally, we were just thinking, okay, it's in China. It's never going to get over here. It's only in China. But now, it's affecting celebrities. It's affecting people that we see on TV, people that aren't just, random people in the street or just random people you see on TV or in the news. These are real people. Now, Rudy Gobert, he has the coronavirus. The whole NBA season is suspended. Do you understand how big of a deal that is? This suspension of the NBA season is only going to lead to other suspensions, from other major sports, from major events, other major venues. This is huge news for the entire US and for the entire world. This coronavirus thing is real, guys.
And expect the NHL to make a statement soon, too. I think the NHL is going to follow suit with this news that just came out and pretty much do exactly the same thing that the NBA just did.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. I know you're very into this and you think it's a lot bigger deal than I do. While I don't think the virus itself is that serious, that I think that's kind of overblown, but I do think that this kind of reaction by both the media and just the U.S. as a whole is kind of to be expected. We haven't seen anything like this in pretty much our lifetimes, honestly, especially in sports, and especially in sports that are in close quarters, arenas, and indoor atmospheres that you kind of, once this thing hit like 100,000 people in China and those populated cities, you kind of knew how it spread and how that would affect if it ever got to those numbers in the U.S. So they're kind of trying to, like, it's not that it's a bad problem in the U.S. now, so they're trying to prevent it. So, I mean, I kind of understand.
Yeah, and the problem with these professional sports teams and all these different leagues is you have locker room accesses. You have fans coming into the locker room, meeting players. You have courtside before the game. You have fans, courtside talking to the players, taking pictures, handshakes. So there's a lot of players in all these different sports that are interacting with these fans and are, touching them. And that's where it gets shaky in this whole thing, not just because this is, like Andrew said, it is overblown. But when you take a setting like the sports world and how personal it gets before and after games, that's where the danger comes in. And the NBA is doing it to protect their fans and their players. But as we saw today, with the Rudy Gobert news, 48 hours ago, he's joking around, touching the microphone, touching the table and everything. Just a really weird time we're in right now.
It's definitely not funny now. And I bet you everybody who was in that room now is just seriously questioning their safety and their health right now. I mean, it's not just something where one person has it and, okay, if you were in the room, you might not get it. This is something where you could possibly be infected and you can go home, pick up your kid, kiss your wife, come in contact with other people you work with and just give it to them and just keep spreading and spreading. I'm not even sure. We're not even sure, the entirety of all these circumstances, the entirety of anything having to do with this virus.
Now, the Rudy Gobert story as well. Isn't that something straight out of like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode? Where he's not taking it serious all episode and he's going around touching everything like, stupid virus, it would never get me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the first player in the NBA to test positive for the virus. It is literally like it's a Hollywood script.
It's ironic.
It's insane. You couldn't write it. You would never think that would happen.
It's crazy to see, especially right now as we're recording, as NBA games are still going on and finishing these games while they just made a statement saying it's suspended. So that's really weird, watching these games, which we don't know if they matter, if it's going to get pushed back a month, get pushed back 2 months, if the regular season will just end and it'll go to the playoffs in a month. So we have no idea the uncertainty. And it's crazy to be, per se, a fan in Oklahoma City tonight that went to go watch the Thunder Jazz game that didn't start yet. And then Rudy Gobert tests positive while he's in your arena. And you see these workers working in the Thunder Stadium, like scrubbing these chairs down where the bench was. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think this is something that's going to affect not only the NBA but everything else. It's really interesting. I think we can confidently say now that the NHL is within a week is going to follow the same suit. If not close the arenas to fans because no player has been tested positive for it yet. But I think eventually they just have to suspend the season until they can kind of get it under control.
Well, yeah, especially with the NBA setting the example. I think the NHL now, they don't have to be the first to do it.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah, they can say the NBA did it, so we're gonna do it. And you saw all 4 major sports leagues in America.
The
They
media.
took a solidarity stand with the media. They tried something, it didn't work, so now they gotta move on to this. And I think it's only a matter of time. I know it's a developing situation. Me and Dan are here. We got our Rutgers gear on because Rutgers is presumably going to make the March Madness tournament. But now I don't think the March Madness tournament is going to happen at all. And they said that the fans wouldn't be allowed in. I really don't think that with the NBA suspending its season and all this, I think you have to push it back. Got to be some April Madness or some May Madness maybe. But I don't think that the March Madness tournament, I'll be shocked if it goes off like it's supposed to.
Well, you don't know the timeline of this epidemic, how long it's going to last. You don't know. April's probably too soon. May might be too soon. Right now, to go scientific on you, they don't have any proof that there's going to be a cure or a vaccine within the next year. We really don't know if it's just going to play down, like how you were mentioning with China, how it came to like a massive with the country. There's so many people got it, and then results started to go down. So we don't know if that's going to happen in the United States. But going back to the March Madness thing, I thought having no fans kind of ruined the tournament because you look at past championships, you look at the one comes to mind that hurts for me to talk about is the Villanova versus UNC national championship. And Marcus Page hitting that shot, the double clutch, and then Chris Jenkins hitting the game-winning 3. Imagine, like, I saw, like, memes on Twitter of it just being, like, people, like, with the court, you just hear like footsteps on the court and no fans are cheering, or there's the one fan in the stadium just cheering, because someone made a funny joke saying each stadium or each team should have one fan, represent their team, and just, that would be funny. But yeah, with the tournament, I wouldn't be surprised now that the NBA pushed their season back that March Madness would too. I just really hope they don't cancel it because Rutgers, first time since 1991, they're going to make a tournament. That's such a big deal. I mean, yeah, I'm talking as a Rutgers fan. I'm not talking about as a whole here. And it makes sense to push it back. But personally, as a fan, I hope they don't.
Yeah, but canceling it, I really can't see happening. I think that would just be shocking because there's so many venues in college basketball. Of course, you want to have the biggest venues for March Madness, but you can really have it anywhere that is available. I'm sure you'll be able to find enough arenas to host games any time of the year.
Yeah.
But March Madness, I think that the most likely scenario definitely just is going to be pushed back because I can't see how you can see the NBA suspend their season, the NHL possibly suspending their season in the coming days, the MLB, the WWE, AEW, all these things pushing stuff back in the coming days. I don't know how March Madness can say, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep moving on with it.
I don't know. I don't know if you have to do that. I mean, I get you. They probably should because there's no downside. If you can find arenas in 2 months once everything is settled down, then do that. But I don't think they have to. I think if they already announced they're going to do it without fans, and the NBA was never going to suspend their season until one of the players got it. So if they test all the athletes and they don't have the coronavirus, then I don't see the point of. I mean, if you're already committing to playing it without fans, then this shouldn't change it. What the NBA is doing really shouldn't affect it, but they will feel pressured into
But my thing
it.
with that is the NBA said they're going to play without fans. This isn't a fan who got the coronavirus and got everybody sick. This is a
But that
player.
changes everything.
It doesn't matter. But that
one NBA player getting it doesn't affect the NCAA tournament.
Well, Andrew, I actually do kind of agree with you. And clearly, the NCAA, they're going to look at the NBA and they're going to kind of follow in their footsteps. But the reason why NBA is postponing or shutting down their season as of right now is because a player got it. They don't want to be held responsible for other players getting it. They don't want to be held responsible for fans getting it. They want this to be a secluded issue. They want whatever whoever has this to be looked at and to be taken care of. They don't want this to get any bigger. Now, when you look at other sports like the MLB season starts in 2 weeks. If the NBA season is already just done, and you're talking about other teams playing with no fans. I don't see any way that the MLB doesn't, follow that, especially in very big populated towns like a New York City or a Los Angeles or Boston, Philly. I don't, this is going to reach every single sporting event. It's going to reach wrestling. WrestleMania is in 25 days.
WrestleMania, listen, this is going to be before the score guarantee. There is no way in hell WrestleMania is going to be going on this year, at least not in April. Maybe they replace SummerSlam with WrestleMania. Maybe they push everything back. Who knows? But WrestleMania, there is no possible way they can have WrestleMania in Tampa Bay this year.
I'll tell you something, Steven. It's not meant to be funny, but it's actually true. They can get 2 years to book WrestleMania, and it'll still suck.
You're right.
It's ridiculous. This thing, it's almost like I feel like I'm in a dream. I feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like I just turned on the TV and they're saying that there's a virus that's striking the nation, and you can't leave your homes. That's almost what this feels like right now. But we really don't know how serious this is. We really don't know what this is going to lead to. Just right now, we're all nervous because we don't know about anything. We all just have questions.
Even today's show as well. Like, we came on expecting to talk about one thing, and in sports, everything's always changing, everything's always breaking. We literally got that news about 10 minutes before we came on air here, and by the time this airs tomorrow morning, who knows what could happen in the next 12 hours or so. And by the time you're listening to this everything could be different. But as of now, it's what the facts state.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have to be a little bit nervous about it, but I mean, the way it is, it affects more of these large gatherings in sports leagues than it does like the average person. Like, it's not really going to change most people's lives as of now. But I mean, and also back to your point about MLB, I think that's a different situation because they haven't started their season yet. With the NHL and the NBA, they're mid-season. They can't just, the NBA just did it, but it's hard to just stop it at a halt. That's why they wanted to do the no fans policy. With the MLB, I don't see them starting a season if none of the stadiums can hold fans. I feel like makes a lot more sense just to push it back.
All right, so you can go.
Yeah, so the NHL just came out with a statement. The National Hockey League is aware of the NBA's decision tonight to indefinitely suspend its season due to a player testing positive for the coronavirus. The NHL is continuing to consult with medical experts and is evaluating the options. We expect to have a further update tomorrow. So we're not going to hear anything tonight on the NHL suspending its season, but possibly tomorrow.
Yeah, but definitely I think a domino effect is going to take place. I will be shocked if it's anything besides suspending the season for the NHL, which selfishly for me, the Rangers have been one of the hottest teams in the league. So, that's going to suck. But I can only imagine how Lakers fans feel right now,
Yeah.
It has not been a kind 2020 to the sports world.
All right, Steve, I have a question, right? If you could ban fans from coming in, let's say, the fan is wearing something he shouldn't be, or the fan has a weapon and you're not going to let him in, why not almost as if having like metal detectors, why not have somebody or multiple people with like, what's it called? Like a gun to kind of like see, read their temperature. All right, if you're above 98, you're not coming into the stadium. I mean, is it really that crazy?
I think that there's a better word.
If you're testing 30,000 people, just don't let them in to begin with.
Temperature gun. I couldn't think of the word.
No, but what should happen is with the NBA and possibly the NHL and all these other leagues, you said the MLB starts in 2 weeks. What they need to do right now is test all the players. They need to test the entire media, test the front offices, test the staffing, the game day staffing, everyone that's involved. Because you could finish this season without fans. Yes, it's going to look weird. It's going to suck. But you got to finish it. It's history that's being written currently. So what you do in this suspension time is test everyone. Make sure these people are healthy and ready to play. And tell them they can't, they have to stay with the team, immediate family. They can't be going out. And it's a hard thing to say because you can't say it's going to actually happen, but that's what needs to happen. And that's the only way I could see this happening, these seasons happening sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think that it'll get through more people's heads now because I think that an analogy I like a lot about sports media is that journalists really think of the sports section as kind of the toy section of the news, and because it's all fun. You have fun. Journalists have fun when they're talking about sports. You don't have to report on somebody dying in a car crash. You don't have to report on a sickness or a virus like this, but sometimes something is so big and affects so many people that it crosses over into sports and shit becomes real. And that's what this is. And that's what I think is going to hit home for more people. I know it's, especially for me, as a huge sports nut, if the virus wasn't getting through to everybody before, now NBA fans, NHL fans, it's going to get through to you now that this is something to kind of take a little more serious than Twitter or other people suggest.
It's going to be crazy, like, in 20, 30, 40 years when I'm telling my kids, grandkids, I'm looking at LeBron's stats because that's what I'm going to be doing in 20, 30 years. And I'm saying, oh, LeBron had 69, 70 games played this season. That's weird. Why did he not play a full season? Oh, well, that was because of the coronavirus.
Well,
That's
son,
because...
let me tell you this.
Yeah, and it's just going to be really weird when you look back at history this season for the NHL, the NBA, and see what happened and really reflect on this time.
And who knows, with the way this is going, literally nobody knows what's going to happen next. We don't know if this season will even get finished. What if they just say, screw it, I guess that's it, and they name the Bucks and they name the... Who's leading the NHL right now? Is it? No, it's not the Capitals.
Bruins.
It's the Bruins.
Yeah.
The Bruins, the champions, and say that's our 2020 season.
You can't.
I wouldn't agree with that, but what if it's September and you have to start a new season? What is the...
No, because I think before
Where
it
do you
gets to
go
that
with
point, unless each league has a player that's infected by it, if the NHL tests every player and staff member and they don't have it, then they'll force the games without fans. They'll get it done. I mean, I guess there's a scenario where if somebody has it and then like the NBA does, they kind of freak out and they have no other choice, like their hand is forced, I guess, but I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, you definitely have to take all precautions, though, and I don't think that that's going to happen. That's just my worst case
That
scenario.
would be terrible.
But even like Dan said, if it's only like 2 months and it's May and the playoffs are supposed to be starting already, it's like, how do you determine in these last, say, 20 games? How do you determine the order of these playoffs? What if some team was supposed to make some crazy run and they couldn't because of this virus? How do you seed these teams? I just think it's kind of crazy.
It's weird because we see this with like strikes in the beginning of the year, but that's the beginning of the year. We never see this around like a playoff time. It's like the NBA, it's like the NFL players going on strike in week 15. It'd be crazy.
It's almost like in '94 when the baseball season was, when they went on strike. But that's something different, that's something that could have been avoided. That's something that could have been prevented. Something like this is literally nobody saw this coming. If you were to tell me this a month ago that the NBA season would be, postponed, I would be like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any type of sense. But
Yeah. So there's 19 more games in the NBA to play. And you look at the Eastern Conference, you have Washington. They're like 4 games back. You look at Portland, the Pelicans, the Kings. They're like 3 games back. And there's 19 games to play. So if you were to end the season and just go right to the playoffs in a couple months, those teams are really screwed because, like the Pelicans, they're a team that's getting hotter right now, and then they're building their young core and they're gearing up for maybe a playoff run, and it might not happen.
Maybe the NBA would think about expanding the playoffs, having a little play-in for the playoffs, kind of like how NASCAR did the one time when the whole controversy with the spin out at Richmond and everything. They say these teams didn't get a fair shake. The other teams were already eliminated. They weren't going to come back. And I think that would be controversial in itself as well. But maybe you have some play-in games. The NHL the same way. The Rangers are 2 points out. If they end the season and say these 8 teams are making the playoffs, it's like, well, what the hell? The Rangers just got hot. They could have made it. So I think that you would have to either think about expanding the playoffs or just finding a way to finish those games, maybe on a neutral site.
Yeah.
Or maybe having shortened games and like 2 in 1 day. I really don't know how you would even think about doing it.
Yeah, you saw like the MLB, the Mariners said they floated the idea of playing in Arizona where they play spring training instead of in Seattle. That's one of the worst.
That was where patient
hits
zero
yeah,
was.
no, in Seattle, that part of the country is pretty bad with this, but I could see them going to somewhere else, like especially with baseball. I mean, you could play it anywhere. Same thing with basketball. NHL would be kind of tough with that, but I mean, basketball and baseball, you can kind of play anywhere. Just the crowd would suck.
Baseball, I would just be shocked if they start on time.
Yeah.
Like if opening day is what it's scheduled now, I think it's March 26th.
Yeah.
If they start March 26th, I'll just be completely shocked. And if they start with fans in the arena as well, then that would mean over the next 2 weeks that some great news has happened. They found a cure and everybody's allowed to go do whatever they want. But I really just can't see that happening.
I don't know. MLB might be stubborn with this. I think there's still a chance. They haven't said anything about like potentially closing into fans and stuff. So I think the fact that it's like an outdoor thing might have people a lot less worried about it.
Well, the NBA canceled their season in the middle of games. So,
Right,
I
but
mean,
the
I think it's
NBA
just ever growing.
the
Who knows?
NBA and NHL are different animals with this virus than it is for an outdoor team.
Well, Steve, obviously nobody wants this to go down, but the MLB does not need this. They just had this whole thing going around with the Astros and the Red Sox, and now potentially their season could be in jeopardy, or at least something could be in jeopardy having to do with the games. This is a terrible blow to Major League Baseball if they eventually have to go and start postponing games.
And
real quickly, any way you look at it, this whole 2020 year and every sport that's going on right now is just going to be controversial for the rest of our lifetimes because there's not going to be a easy fix to this. Something's going to have to happen that not everyone's going to agree with, and it's just going to always have controversy over this year.
And the MLB is in a tougher position than other sports like the NHL and the NBA, as if they like the NHL and NBA, they can
Yes.
postpone their season and play it in the summer and be like, yeah, we have the arena still. It doesn't matter.
They
There's
can't
no
do the
weather
World
to worry
Series
about.
in January,
they can't-
December,
you can't
when
postpone
it's
the World
snowing
Series that
outside.
far.
That'd be kind of fire.
That's what I was trying to
That
get
would
at.
not be
That would
fire.
be kind of
Well,
fire.
what you would have to
Crazy.
do is you would have to shorten the season in MLB, and,
Of course,
and
yeah.
that's going to suck. I mean, me personally, I don't like that, but that might be the only option they have.
The closest thing I can think to this, and it's not even close to our lifetime, would have to be probably going. You have to go all the way back to like the World Wars when
Yeah,
athletes were getting
I was just
drafted.
about to bring that point up.
That is literally the only thing I can
That
think about.
and you have like lockout seasons that just never happened. You look at the was it 2003 2004 season I think for the NBA or
But if you're
something
looking
like
at
that.
something out of their control, then I think that has
Yeah,
to be the
like
only
with-
thing I can think
Yeah,
about.
back what I can think is the World War when players were getting drafted
Yeah.
and it just like, all right, well, there's
guess-
no Olympics this year,
I mean,
like
this
Yeah.
is bigger than sports. This is not just something where all right, this one person got it and that's it. Like I said earlier, you don't know how he got this virus. You don't know who he was around. If he was around other teammates, maybe another teammate has the virus. Maybe that's the reason why they had to shut down the NBA
Oh,
season.
of course, that's
100%
why they had to do it.
Obviously.
100% why.
Yeah,
He's
because
around them all day. He's had it for if you don't show signs until like a week or two after. And so if he's had it for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and he's interacted with hundreds of people.
and there's already another
Scary.
teammate that's showing signs of illness. I don't know if he's been tested for
Who's that?
coronavirus yet. It's Emmanuel Mudiay, a point guard, former
Yeah.
Knicks point guard. They were both on the injury report for illness today, and it was just crazy watching that go
Oh,
down
Jesus.
live because on Twitter I'm following along, seeing the Thunder and the Jazz and Woj talking about it, and they're about to tip off, and then all you see is that they left the court and they didn't say a thing, and you see the refs freaking out, and then they say that it is because of an illness, and it was like, oh man, really? Today of all days they didn't have an illness, and everybody's like, nah, it can't be that. And then when it came out as when Shams reported that it was positive, I couldn't, but the shock that went through me was insane.
Yeah, and relating this to other sports too, you looked at last week, I think, Italy, in the country of Italy, they've been going through a crazy lockdown and everything's been insane in that country.
Yeah,
but
the country of Italy is actually, I think, the worst of any country.
so
in the
they
world.
did with all
No,
these
China's worse.
China's-
I mean,
China's
they're
the
easily the
worst.
worst.
You're
currently
right, yeah.
currently with the highest rising, I think Italy's the
Yeah.
worst. But you looked at all of their games, like Juventus just played, I think, like Inter Milan or something like that. There's no fans. They banned all fans, and I thought that was crazy. Now you see what was happening with the U.S. And now this just today it got reported one of the center backs for Juve just got infected, and he was just with the team Sunday. So that whole team could be in danger of getting the virus as well. And then
Ronaldo too.
yeah,
you know?
and they're currently playing Champions League, and then next year you got the Euro 2020. You have the Olympics next year, or this year, right? It's the Olympics this year. There's no way the Olympics. Yeah. There's no way they're gonna have to push that back. They could probably do it in 2021. But then you look at
Yeah, what do
other
you do?
things. There's gonna be other tournaments that are in 2021 that they're playing sports in. They're gonna have to push that back or just cancel it. It just makes everything for all these higher executives and all these sports just makes their life is literally hell. It just their brains are exploding because there's just so much to think about and what is the least risky way to do it and what will make the most people happy.
And we focused a lot on the MLB and the NBA and the NHL, but if you take it even to other sporting areas, you have the UFC, who is probably not going to be able to hold an event for a pretty long time in the US because who knows what's going to happen.
And let me get very personal about this with the UFC. So if you don't follow the UFC, there's a guy named Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov. He fought Conor McGregor. But anyway, they were scheduled to fight 4 times 4 times, and there's been 4 different reasons this fight hasn't happened. It's one of the most anticipated fights that UFC fans have been waiting for like in the history of the sport. And now the coronavirus comes out, and these guys are gonna fight. They're supposed to fight next month. There's no way that fight's gonna happen.
Healthy.
They're
About
finally
time.
healthy, and now there's gonna be outside reasons. It's the fight that's just never gonna happen. And I can't get it through my head how mad I can't watch that fight. Phil bought tickets for it. He's not gonna be able to go to it. Like, it's insane. It's just pissing me off, man.
And there's nobody in the world who must be more mad about this than Vincent McMahon, the owner of the WWE and the XFL, because his biggest event of the year, WrestleMania, is in jeopardy. And like we said before, it's probably going to be canceled in Tampa Bay. And then his other baby, the XFL, which he's put so much money into, and it's actually succeeding. It's actually doing very well.
Yeah.
And the reason it's doing so well is because the environment with the fans
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun to be at.
You saw the XFL commissioner added to the beer snake the
Oliver
other day,
Luck.
Oliver Luck at the DC Defenders game.
And now this happens, something completely out of their control. They're finally doing everything right. The NFL has a rival, the XFL, well, not really a rival, but they have another football league that is helping football fans in this offseason.
Yeah.
And then this happens. Like, it is just insane to think that the Vince McMahon must be losing it right now. The amount of money he's going to lose from this is crazy.
Well, every team, every owner, and every league is going to lose money because of this. Because if you're able to continue these leagues without fans, that's a lot of revenue that they're not getting. And I don't care about these owners' money. Like, I don't care. I want these seasons done. I don't care how much money you lose. This needs to be done. It just needs the commissioner, whatever commissioner, whoever it is, if it's Silver, if it's Manfred, if it's I can't Goodell, whoever it is, they have to take charge of this and say, hey, we're playing anyway without fans. You're going to lose some revenue. I'm sorry about that, but this needs to happen.
Yeah, and who knows what the NFL is going to do with some of their upcoming events, like the NFL draft.
I think the draft's done. I think they're going to move it somewhere and just have it in some room with no fans.
That's what they're going to have to
do.
do.
The picks will happen on that day. It's just I don't think it'll be in Vegas.
But who knows what they're going to do, because Vegas was so excited for this. Maybe next year it goes to Vegas instead. They push everything back.
I think they'll force it to be in Vegas.
Because Vegas, that was very anticipated.
Yeah.
So I think that the NFL...
There were 600,000 people at the draft last year. There's no shot now they have.
I have a better idea for that. Just push it back to next year. I think Cleveland's next year.
Yeah.
And then just cancel Green Bay. No,
Cleveland.
cancel Green Bay. There's no sense in having it in Green Bay. No sense.
I mean, if you're gonna have a draft, just have it as if you were just playing a game with no fans. You don't need to have the fans there. I understand.
Well, it used to always be like 100 people there or something, like 100, 200 people there.
Yeah, but times are different.
Yeah, times are different. That's one of the most watched things on TV all year.
It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but now the NFL draft draws more people than some MLB games. Draws more people than some NBA games. The NFL draft is gigantic nowadays. Yeah. It's more watched than anything on TV that entire weekend.
One thing I want to say with the NBA is I'm very interested to see the NBA's stance on if players are still allowed to practice in their facilities, if they're still allowed to practice with their coaches, their teammates, or they're just going to completely cancel or suspend all activities with teams where they can't train and get ready for these playoffs, and they're going to have to do it by themselves. So it's going to be very interesting to see what
I think if they expect to resume the season, that they're going to figure out a way to like meet or work out on their own, just at least stay in shape.
Yeah, they would have to figure out a way to do that.
Okay, so if people were having this virus on a cruise and they were quarantined, don't you think this whole entire Utah Jazz team is going to get quarantined?
Of course.
I mean,
they already are.
Thunder as well.
That's why they suspended the season.
No, I understand, but I'm just trying to wrap my whole head around this. It's not just about Rudy Gobert. I'm pretty sure, and I hope I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure other players have this thing around them.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
This is just it's.
It would not be
crazy.
surprising in one bit to see Donovan Mitchell come out and have this disease. Have somebody on the Thunder, Danilo Gallinari, come out and he has this disease.
Chris Paul, yeah.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, people like that. Just from standing that close to Rudy Gobert or something, it's just insane. And imagine they started to play this game and he's sweating all over them trying to box him out or something.
Coughs on him one time,
He's been playing. He's been playing. I'm pretty sure he's been playing like this for days.
Yeah, and if he's been a carrier of this disease, they would have to go back and check who they've played in the last couple of days,
the fans
weeks.
The fans he's interacted with.
And he has his own children foundation as well. I saw that on his Instagram. So yeah, no, if he came in contact with any children and if he infected them, obviously this is unknowingly, but still you have to be cautious.
Imagine being a fan a week ago, going to a game, your favorite player, so you're a Jazz fan, your favorite player is Rudy Gobert, you take a selfie with him, and then a week later, he has coronavirus and you're freaking out.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Not funny, but
It's
that
not
would-
funny,
that'd be
but
crazy.
you know what I mean.
All right,
You know
so
what you
the
mean.
other day, right, Gary Sanchez, he was having flu-like symptoms, and everybody was making jokes. Oh, he has a coronavirus. He has a coronavirus. Now, he doesn't have the coronavirus, but he very well could have had this damn coronavirus.
Yeah.
This thing is super. It's like so close. I feel like I'm watching a 3D movie with no 3D glasses. Like it's right here, and I can't take off the glasses.
Well, and then I think it's only a matter of time before you see players in every other sport come out and say they have the coronavirus. It's just going to happen. It's just one of those things that happens when you're dealing with crowds that large and you're at these autograph signings and you're in these big cities that also have the virus. It's kind of hard to stay away from it.
And you can't even prevent it. I mean, you could say wash your hands. You could say use hand sanitizer. Lysol wipe everything
Just
down.
less interaction. You can
But, like,
increase
how-
your odds of
think about it.
avoiding it.
How the hell does an NBA player get coronavirus? Where the hell does he contract it from?
From a fan. It
From
has to be from a
living his
fan.
life, from going somewhere in some
Just
random
going out.
town
These
outside of
guys-
the city.
But these guys are like the most protected people in their cities, in their
right,
respective
yeah,
cities.
they're more
This guy's
protected than
7 foot
anybody.
tall.
But they have a lot. They have 100 times more interaction with like random people than any of us have.
And they
So,
also just instated that whole they're all doing the fist pounds now instead of handshaking.
yeah,
It's all
elbow
different now.
taps. with
Yeah,
Brody.
so it's just,
I'm not even doing fist pumps now. I'm not even doing. I'm
touching
looking at you and
anybody.
I'm giving you a little head nod. I mean, if one of these people can get it, if Tom Hanks can get it, if his wife can get it, that means each and every one of us can get it. You can go.
Do you
God
think
for
you're immune? You think Tom Hanks was
no,
immune
no.
to it?
But what I'm saying is, you can go to work and somebody coughs or sneezes the wrong way. You can get it. Let's say you have it right now. All of us in this room right now could be at risk, and everybody that we see could also be at risk.
We know.
This has no boundaries. This has no end. This has no beginning. This is something.
hopefully, yes, man.
This is something that is just unprecedented in the world right now.
Okay, I understand it's a crazy scenario and they're closing everything and all that, but let's not act like this is the Black Plague, man. I know we all
understand.
know that how sicknesses are travel from. That's why people say like last year, any year, don't go to work if you're sick. You can get other people sick. This is no different. It's just new and scarier, but it doesn't mean it's like necessarily 100% worse.
And it has
It's not
been
the end of the world.
propped up a little bit by media
Absolutely.
hysteria.
It's only because it affects sports, and that's what their job is. And this is something that we haven't seen affect sports. There's so many more worse illnesses and that are like more of a threat to the average person. But this affects like what they hold near and dear, which is sports. So when this is the first time like a sickness has taken away an actual league. Like this never happened. So it's just more shock than anything.
And like it or not, to these players, they're gonna have to stay inside. They can't go out. Like they gotta, contain themselves to put, they don't want to go and put themselves at risk. And one player I want to shout out right now, James Harden. You got to stop going to strip clubs, man. You gotta stop going to strip clubs because you could get this fucking disease, man. Like you gotta stop.
He can get more than that disease.
Yes, he could.
I would like to shout out a friend of Before the Score, Frank Fleming. Frank, we are thinking of you. I don't think that this disease has hit anybody harder than Frank.
Yeah.
Frank,
He's not happy.
he is not happy about the cancellations in sports. To give you an example, I will read a tweet that Frank tweeted today.
Oh, I saw his tweets.
And
Yeah.
he said, "How long will this last? So no sports. I rather die. I rather die." Frank, we're with you, man. We really appreciate you coming on the show. We love sports just as much as you. Well, you might love it a little more than us with those tweets you've been
I
saying.
mean,
don't
he's
know if
taking
I'd
it
rather-
harder than the people who actually have the damn disease.
But Frank, we know you're passionate, and there is nobody who will ever be able to discount your passion after a tweet like
Well,
that.
Frank really thinks it's very overblown. From
He does,
judging
yeah.
from his tweets, he
So
thinks
do a lot
it's
of the
just
Barstool
stupid.
sports guys, like Dave Portnoy,
Yes, a
is
lot
kind
of
of
them.
leading that charge.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. If you look
He's
at
not-
like,
he's not wrong.
if you look at like politics, I hate to bring up politics, but like most hardcore Republican, they don't really believe that this is a epidemic
But in the sports
Well,
sense.
in the sports sense.
You
Yes.
know, as I was gonna say earlier, it's obviously the media is overblowing this thing, and they're making it into this huge giant monster. But the thing, what makes scary movies scary, is the fact that it could be real. If you watch a movie about a serial killer, that's scary. If you watch a movie about a guy who can kill you in your dreams, that's not realistic. This is something that, was brought to our attention. Okay, people here and there, people in China, all the way across the world are getting this disease. But now you see people that are professional athletes. You see celebrities, you see actors, you see just more and more people just coming out with this. That's what makes this scary. And I really don't know how long this is really going to go on.
And every day this changes. Within if you told me 2 weeks ago that Rudy Gobert and Tom Hanks would have coronavirus and the NBA would be canceling its season, there wasn't even a case in New Jersey 2 weeks ago.
I wasn't even thought of this.
So it's just I think that the scariest part isn't the disease itself, especially for people our age, because most people our age are going to beat this disease pretty easily and quickly.
Yeah.
The scary part is the amount of time that it takes for this disease to spread and how unknowingly you spread this disease. And I think that people are just scared because of the cancellations. Even schools, public schools, going to be canceled soon. Everything. It's just a whole new thing that everybody's dealing with.
Well, like Andrew's been saying, it is getting outblown by the media. Like, it is way overblown. It is a big deal in the sense that it affects older people and I guess like infants and stuff like that.
If you have medical problems.
Yeah, and if you have medical problems. So like when you go into the sports world, it's crazy. These athletes, fans could get it and everything, but they're probably going to be okay. So it's weird to see personally, like thinking about the sports cancellations and suspensions and whatever. I mean, like, it's hard to say I disagree with it because I get where they're coming from, but like, no, these players aren't gonna like die from it.
It's also that if some scenario where like a 40-year-old whoever in the NBA gets it and dies, then they're liable for that.
I know.
Them play in the games.
No, that's why I understand it.
Yeah. So it's more. I think it's more of a liability issue than
the
it is like let's protect the fans.
Yeah. Well, entire thing.
It's like society like wants that. It's like politically correct, and it is also like it protects them from any insurance.
It's protecting people from themselves too, because people can
could
warn people all they want. They're still going to go to the game.
Whether they feel sick or not.
The Thunder Jazz game was packed. And, the only way to stop the people from doing it is to force them their hand. So that's what they're doing. And I just think that is the NBA's play now.
But there also is a little bit of hope for this. I mean, you see, like, once it's this is like the biggest, like, pandemic we've ever dealt with. It's not, like, mortality-wise, like, that super, super serious. Like, it's not like the apocalypse. But it is serious enough that, like, governments are going to start fast tracking like approval, like FDA approval and medicines and trying to get this vaccine and cure out there. So I think it's also like, it's like a flu-like virus. So, and I think with the seasonal change and everything, the warmer weather, I read up like a little bit on it. It was like patients, like it helps being in like warmer weather for this kind of thing. So I think as the weather warms, it will slow down like the increasing rate of this.
Yeah, but it's like anything like the common cold. You're going to most likely get it when seasons change. It gets colder. Like most colds happen from fall to winter.
I'll be shocked if it's August and it's still going up and it's still like a serious issue.
I don't expect that at all.
I would be nervous if it's August.
But
there's a problem if there is.
The one thing that's being said is, make sure you wash your hands. And then you look at people saying that hand sanitizer sold out or soap sold out in the stores. Like, shouldn't you be doing this anyway? Like, what are we saying here? Wash your hands, sneeze, or cough into your do the vampire cough. Everyone should be doing. Yes, everybody should do this.
Dan,
what's so
let me ask you
crazy
this.
about?
How many times have you gone to the bathroom and you notice somebody, use the bathroom and just walk right out the bathroom and not even wash their hands? How many times?
It happens all the time. Yes.
It happens all the time. Now, do you think that there are some people who are still stuck in their ways who are not going to change, regardless of what's going on?
Yeah.
Now,
of course,
this is something you still have to keep pushing. You still have to keep pushing. Wipe down the damn table. Wipe down the surfaces. Clean your hands. Make sure you clean.
Clean your phones.
Clean your phone.
Phones,
Your phone is the dirtiest thing you will see all day. Aside from doorknobs and light switches and the thing that flushes the toilet.
What?
The handle on the toilet.
The handle on the toilet. I mean, your toothbrush. Things like this. The subway stations. Why did it take
Why did it take a global pandemic for you to clean the New York subway?
That's crazy.
Shout out Frank Fleming, not saying that they're cleaning NJ Transit. Like, why not clean NJ Transit too while we're at it?
Look, I have a Devils game to go to tomorrow. That's the reason why,
and you might not be going to it.
Here's the thing. Look, whenever you guys see this, I don't want to go to the game because
I hope the people you're going with don't hear this.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
We're recording a day early for a game that you don't want to go to.
Aside from the fact that I like the Rangers over the Devils, I mean,
I like it.
You've never once pledged allegiance to a team
other than
the Maple Leafs.
Okay.
Just because the Rangers are doing a little better than the Devils this year.
Look,
a little.
I potentially could expose myself. Other people could expose,
I don't go.
You're probably not going to go.
I would have to take the train. I would have to be around a whole bunch of people.
Train's honestly like the one thing I would avoid. Like, I know it's disgusting. Not that serious, but regardless, trains are pretty damn dirty.
Well,
so,
in my opinion, honestly, going to Newark anyway makes me feel a little skeevy on the trains and everything. Going to Newark with the coronavirus at the peak right now, that's a little out of my realm.
And I was a little nervous. I just came back from California, going to Newark Airport, going to San Francisco Airport. I'm going to be leaving Monday for my job, and I'll be back in Newark Airport. Just sucks, man. You see all these people walking around with these masks and everything, and they don't, it's disgusting.
People in masks just give me the skis. They give me the heebie-jeebies. It's like people who walk around with their hands behind their back. I cannot stand it. You guys make me nervous.
How many? I really don't know that many people that do that.
I see it all the time.
I don't know who you're hanging out with.
I see it all the time. And you want to know something about the Prudential Center in Newark? Steve, we have tickets to go to the AEW show, Blood and Guts. What are we going to do if it's canceled?
Not go.
Not go.
Not go and be mad about it.
Yeah. I'm very disappointed because that was actually a big week. Starting Wednesday, we had AEW Blood and Guts. Thursday, we're going to hit up the Mets opening day game at Citi Field versus the Nationals. And Saturday, which was our XFL tailgate presented by Before the Score, that I really think we're going to have to cancel, barring some miracle with this disease.
I think it's already
TBD.
That's completely TBD. But right now, it's just not looking promising at all. And we'll
reassess in a week or two.
Yeah, we'll reassess. It'll be all over Twitter. But I wanted to start, showing everybody about, telling everybody, getting the word out. And I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
And as Dan was saying before with the media playing into this hysteria, I do think a little conspiracy theory that I've seen is the media is in kind of cahoots with these big giant store corporations to sell stuff like this. Because this year we really had no giant snowstorm.
Well, that's why
no giant weather thing.
You definitely got that off Twitter.
States of emergency to stop the price hikes of everything. They're trying to get ahead of that before you see even toilet paper is going out of stock. $50 to get toilet paper on Amazon. It's crazy. It has nothing to do with anything. It's the most unrelated thing to this at all. But they're like, oh, if we're gonna stock up on something, let's stock up on toilet paper. Who wants to run out of toilet paper?
I was in Walgreens yesterday. I was just gonna grab a hand sanitizer while I was there. Pick one up. Get some wipes for our trip to New Orleans. And, of course, no wipes, no hand sanitizers. Thank God my dad brought some home from work last week before this whole thing happened.
I'm going to bring a cup to work. And there's a bunch of pumps of that and stuff. I'm just going to start taking some.
Yeah, exactly.
Sell on the streets.
Stealing some hand sanitizer.
Look, hey, guys, I know this is probably the lowest of anybody's, worry level. I think I'm on my last roll of toilet paper. What am I going to do?
I'm going to pay $100 for one roll.
What am I going to do? Oh, what am I going to do?
You're going to have to pay
up. Sell your Devils ticket and buy
paper towel time.
I'm going to tell you what. I might have to cancel this game, bro. I don't know. If I really don't know.
We're here. We recorded a day early.
MLB The Show.
You're going to that game tomorrow.
MLB The Show comes out tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at a GameStop near me. Do you understand? Do you understand that is my favorite game? I play that game more than any game ever. And MLB 20 The Show comes out tomorrow. What?
Yeah, I really don't know if there's any other topics we could even move on to.
We can't.
Let's talk a little March Madness. It hasn't been canceled.
It might not even happen.
It might not even
Tomorrow
happen.
Might be a moot point.
That's the thing.
We'll share our brackets online. That's what we'll do.
Go dating.
I really don't know how we could talk March Madness without March Madness. It's in the air. It's in flux. I wanted to predict the XFL games. It might not happen. Who knows? That's what I'm saying.
Who knows? But
it's honestly this show. This show cannot be dated.
By the time we record again, man, so much is gonna change.
So much could change, but
and it will change. Like I can guarantee,
A professional athlete could have died from coronavirus by the time this happened.
Probably
Please
not.
God,
but
no.
there is a possibility.
Saying, a possibility, which is insane. Who knows who else could have this disease possibly? And it's
just like I said,
it's insane to me.
I'm telling you, one of us could have it right now, and I don't want to make anybody worried.
Let's not say stuff like that.
Let's relax.
I'm just saying you really don't know.
You're
Switching
right.
topics for these next eight or nine shows, there's going to be a 3-man booth because I will be traveling the country with an internship. So you'll be seeing a little different.
I hope you make it back.
Different table. All right, let's not say
a little bit more Z.
Yeah, Dan is going to leave me with these two guys.
Yeah.
My right
So
and my left.
we're gonna be B3 the score. Is that what you're saying?
can't
Well,
do
I might
that.
be able to Skype in sometimes when I have some free time. You
There
know,
we go.
give some of my opinions since there's going to be a lot of news.
I think we'll
going
be
on
all right
now.
without it. Honestly, I think we'll be.
Yeah.
I think we'll be just fine.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, we'll miss you, Dan. We'll miss you with your Vikings picks and some whatever you bring to this show.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
But when do you come back again? May.
I'll be back mid-May. I don't really know, or it might be early May, depending on the scheduling. So I might be back.
Where are you traveling?
Or if the Junior PGA Tour gets canceled.
No, they already came out with an email saying they're not canceling it. So I'm definitely
until
we're
there's
definitely
130 million people in the U.S. with it. And then,
that would have to happen pretty
then,
quick.
then we can record a lot.
Do you have any advice for Dan on this trip to stay away from the coronavirus?
Stock up with toilet
All I
paper.
have to say,
Thanks.
don't say hi to anybody you don't know. Don't strike conversation with anybody you don't know.
Don't
He's
talk
not
to
gonna
anybody.
know
Don't
anybody.
talk to anybody.
That's
for
the whole
3
point of my
months.
job.
Don't talk to anybody for 3
I'll
months.
tell you what. If they have nothing to do with whatever internship you're going after, don't talk to them. Don't engage. Just give them a little head nod and keep
Honestly,
it moving.
I don't know why you're taking this so serious. I think you're immune. You had the swine flu. You had Ebola.
Me?
Ebola. He was one of the 2 people in the U.S. Let's take this back to last week real quick because Pablo Hernandez said something that may be considered a little controversial this week, where he said, after all the stuff he said this week, he said last week that Odell Beckhamitis was more serious than the coronavirus. So what are your thoughts on that statement that you
Want to take
made?
that one back?
I'm going to tell you something. Of all the things that I've said that haven't aged well, that's probably top one. I mean, this coronavirus thing, this is going to be the top story for the next few weeks. This is probably one of the biggest stories, we've ever been a part of in our time on this.
This will be the biggest story of the year already.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely.
There's no way anything is going to top
I-
that.
It already
never
topped the Kobe news.
Anything-
2020 is off to a crazy
it's-
start.
you don't want to compare the two, but I mean, this is more like of an impact, I guess. Like, this is changing actual
this is
games.
a global thing. It's not just a sports thing.
Yeah, it's something
They're
that's
both
crossed
terrible.
into the sports world. Yeah, of course they are. It's tough to compare strategies like that.
I understand, but I'm talking about like bigger story.
Of course, a bigger scale. But
Yeah.
It's crazy to look like you look at a couple months ago. You saw the news of the coronavirus coming out in China, and there's 10, 20, 30 people infected, and you're like, all right, maybe it'll be under control. And then as weeks go on, and now days, every day, I'm checking my phone, like 400, 500 more cases reported, 600. Like every day I wake up, it's just growing and growing in the United States, and eventually it's gonna have to stop, right? Eventually it's gonna have to.
I hope so. And March Madness might not go on, but our
Don't
Odell
say that, man.
I hope it does. But our Odell Beckhamitis bracket has to go on, so make sure you vote on that on Twitter. We gotta know which athlete you think
Probably
has the
bad
worst
timing
case
for
for
that.
Beckhamitis. Yeah, it doesn't sound too well, but
No.
it's already out there.
What I'm most
Beckham
excited to
minus.
see is who's going to win between me, myself, and Kanye. I mean, honestly,
Wow.
Steve, how can you even put me in this bracket thing?
I think you might win it.
I think you might get the most votes.
But
Yeah.
how can the doctor of Odell Beckhamitis get Odell Beckhamitis?
What would you rather have, the virus or Odell Beckhamitis?
Come on, dude.
What?
What?
Beckhamitis?
I know what I would answer. That's the virus. I'll sweat it out like a flu. I already had the flu this year. I'm
All right,
fine.
let me.
That's
All
not
right,
how it
guys.
works.
This is nothing to play with. Obviously, this is very serious. This is something
Sure,
that
it's serious, but if you can't make a joke about it, then let's relax.
I was
It's
making
not-
jokes
it's not
yesterday.
It's not the dawn of the dead, man.
I was making jokes yesterday, but
Make
now,
them today. Who
now
cares?
that Tom
Who's gonna
Hanks
stop
has it,
you?
nobody's safe.
Tom Hanks will be all right. He's lived through World War II. He's fine.
Huh?
Tom Hanks, World War
Saving
II?
Private Ryan.
He's
It's in a
63.
movie.
He's
He
not
died.
83.
Okay, maybe he
died
didn't
in-
survive it, but he
he died in
survived.
Saving
He
I'm
Private
gonna
survived
tell you
Ryan.
what.
D-Day.
I'm gonna tell you
okay?
what.
We'll
Tom
say
Hanks. If you guys have ever seen Philadelphia, Tom Hanks was fighting for his life. The dude had a weak immune system in the movie Philadelphia. He had AIDS. Obviously, I understand.
It's not real.
Yeah, it's a movie.
It's a
All
movie.
right.
Let's get to some
All right,
questions.
so real quick before we end this show, because it was a coronavirus themed show, and I don't think anybody else wants to hear any more about us talking about that. We have some questions that kind of, interlapped. It was from PK Patel and Mikey Ferro. They both asked around the same question. It's basically, I don't even know if you can answer it now, but let's say
Let's
right
just
now,
say-
The
Let's just say
season
who's
never
your
restarts,
MVP?
and they have to name awards.
Who's your MVP for the NBA? It's Giannis or LeBron up to this point.
Okay, so I'd say about a week ago, it was pretty much, not maybe more than a week ago, it was pretty much a lock that Giannis was definitely going to win this award. But then you saw, his first half of the season, pre-All-Star break, I think he was like number one ever in the NBA, like he's having like the best statistical year of like anyone ever.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you're going to get the MVP. Now I think he's at 5 or so he's still having an all-time year. But you look at LeBron's recent victories against, you look at the Bucks game when he went head-to-head with Giannis. You look at the Clippers game when he was with going head-to-head against Kawhi. And 2 giant wins there, very good wins for the Lakers. They were turning it on this was very joyous for Lakers fans because they're turning it on at the right time, beating all the right teams you want to see them beat. And I really think it was becoming a very good argument that LeBron in his age 35 or 36 season is a very good shot at being the MVP. Right now, I would say, to answer the question, Giannis over LeBron by a very small margin.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think that it is a very slim margin, especially with LeBron beating Giannis and looking so well in that game. But I think that Giannis has the stats right now and his team has the better record. So I think it's tough to go against Giannis there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go with Giannis in the MVP debate.
Steve, I have to agree. You can't even look at first half and look at his stats right now. This Giannis might very well just already be the MVP. LeBron, obviously, we spoke about the tragedy to Kobe. He's had a lot of things to overcome, and he has by far been able to, push his team, the Lakers, to be one of the most dominant teams in the sport, alongside the Milwaukee Bucks.
I disagree with that. Sure, you have to commend him for what he did, but that does not tie into MVP voting at all.
No.
What emotional problems they went through, and also,
it doesn't.
What I wanted to say about the subject is there's 2 different things of who I think should win and who I think will win. I think Giannis will win. I think he has the numbers and the team stats to back it up. I think LeBron should win, not because of his emotional battles this year, but for how much he means to that team. And I've always, for whatever sport it is, I've always been part of the group that thinks it's not like the best player in the league. It's who's the most valuable, who means the most to their team. And I think usually in a lot of sports you see a lot, like especially like Mike Trout and stuff, he's obviously the best player in baseball.
He's not the most valuable
But he's
player.
not the most valuable
I agree.
player in baseball. But he always wins MVP because they care. I think the voters care more about who's like the best.
Well, we've seen the trend in the NBA where you have these MVP awards coming out, and some years, like when LeBron was winning his MVPs in his, I think, 2010, 2011, his early Heat days, he was the most valuable player. But lately, that trend is turning into who's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
And that was the Russell Westbrook year when he was averaging a triple-double. You look at even back to the Steve Nash days, he had like 12 or 13 or 14 assists, something crazy like that. And that's why they gave him the MVPs. But even then, there was an argument that LeBron could have been the MVP. And then this year, you look at who is the most valuable player. LeBron is always going to be the most valuable player because you look at the years that he leaves the Cavaliers going to Miami Heat, they become automatically the worst team in the league. You look at the splits of when LeBron's on the floor, not on the floor with the Cavs when he came back, and it was crazy. Now you look at the splits with him on the Lakers. It's just a completely different team when LeBron's on and off the court. And he's always, every year since maybe his 3rd or 4th year in the league, he's been the most valuable player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think LeBron definitely has a case where you could say he's been the most valuable player for the last 20 years of the NBA, just the way it's been working out. Moving on to our next question from Dave Stolte. He wants to know, is Frank Ntilikina a part of the Knicks' long-term future? He's the youngest in Knick history with a 20-point, 10-assist game. And Dave, I'll take that question right off the rip. I think that Frank Ntilikina has proved since Mike Miller took over as head coach in the last couple games, he has especially proved that he should be a part of the Knicks' future. When he was drafted, he was so young and he came over from a completely different league. He really wasn't accustomed to the way you play American basketball. I know it's not too different in other countries. And Luka Doncic has adjusted pretty quickly, but Frank Ntilikina was young and he had to fill out a little bit, get his feet wet.
Most players have to do that.
Yeah, most players aren't Luka.
Yeah.
So I would say Frank is a part of the Knicks' future. He may not be the point guard of the future, but he definitely has a role on a contending team.
Yeah, and it's been good to see his progression this year. And like you said, since Miller has become the coach, he's done a lot more and has filled a bigger role for the Knicks, and they're playing a lot better. But you got to say, like, look at the Lakers, and this is a special situation. Like, when you have that Lakers young cast, but there's an Anthony Davis that you could trade for. Now, if the Knicks were somehow able to land a free agent and want to trade for a bigger piece, you got to expect he would probably be in that deal, and you're not going to decline that. But as of now, knowing the Knicks organization, he's probably going to be staying because I don't see a trade happening with the Knicks.
I actually have to disagree because I feel like a lot of the times the Knicks have this young star or like a player who just comes into his own, they get rid of him. So I do think that this team is very young, and obviously Ntilikina, I can't really say his name right, but obviously they would like to build around him. But I think it's just going to come to a fact where he's going to be good, and they're not going to be good, and they're going to move him just like they did Porzingis.
Well, we'll see. I hope that doesn't happen like that. This question comes from Colin Horahan, and he says, a question that was so ridiculous at the start of the day has now turned into kind of like a, makes you think a little bit with the news about Rudy Gobert. Obviously, you would know by now. He says, does LeBron have the coronavirus? It's a joke, but, it's a little, makes your gears turn a little bit now with the Gobert news.
Just test everyone.
That would light the world on fire.
Yeah.
If that news came out, that would bring the NBA community to like a halt.
Yeah, that would hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, that would be insane.
I mean, the internet, if it's not already broken, would just
Stop working.
It would just stop.
It would just snap in half.
This question comes from OG Charlie, and he wants to know, how do you feel about AJ Styles versus the Dead Man?
Well, thanks, OG. I was actually looking at this comment earlier, and honestly, I really don't like this. I really don't like the storyline. And I'm not going to say I don't like it because, you can call me a WWE hater or whatever you want to say. You cannot build a storyline in 3 weeks. WrestleMania is the biggest show of any wrestling company on the entire planet. You cannot build, especially around a guy like The Undertaker, who's not, his storytelling is not done in the ring anymore. He's old. He's all beat up. His storytelling is done outside the ring. And the fact that we're 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, and we don't even know what's going to happen. Is it going to be a tag team match? Is he going to be teaming with Aleister Black? Is he going to be going against the OC? Is he going to be going against AJ Styles? Is he going to be the American Badass? You don't know. So that's my thing. If you can't tell a story and if you can't build up to anything, this match should not be happening at all.
Yeah, my thing, I really liked AJ Styles' promo the other day. I think it was more of like a call out, not just like I want to build a match, like get out here and fight me type thing. But I do agree with you that this match needs more time to be built up. But this is a match also that just 5 years ago, you never would have thought it would ever be taking place. And maybe it should have taken place way back then when both people were a little more healthier and everything. But I think AJ Styles, if there's anybody in this company who can get a good match, not even a good match, an average match out of The Undertaker, AJ Styles is on the top 5 of that list. So
I mean, I think AJ Styles could pull out a good match with,
with Gilbert,
a number 2 pencil.
Yeah.
But the thing with AJ Styles and the thing with especially Undertaker, his time is done. It's time to step away from wrestling. He just doesn't have it anymore. He physically he just can't do it. And I don't think it's smart, especially long term looking into his health. It's not smart.
And I just can't see that AJ Styles is going to be Undertaker's last match with no build.
Exactly.
So it's just this guy should have just retired after the Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania 33. That needed to be the last match, putting the hat in the ring. And AJ Styles even kind of broke kayfabe a little bit and called him out for that. He said, when you left your hat in the ring, I had a tear in my eye, and you keep coming back and embarrassing yourself. And that was like, wow, he's kind of breaking the fourth wall here.
His last match should have been against Bray Wyatt, and he should have kind of like passed the throne, passed the torch to Bray Wyatt.
We don't know how that would have worked out.
I mean, regardless, Cena would have probably buried Bray Wyatt like he's about to do at WrestleMania anyway. But
if there is a WrestleMania.
Yes, but I do think that Undertaker's last match will eventually end up being John Cena.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that. And Aaron Bartlett, he just wants to know, what the heck just happened? And I hope we answer that question a little bit throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the way, everybody just wash your hands, cough into your, like Dan was saying, do the vampire cough. Just be safe out there,
I don't even know what a vampire cough is.
The dab cough?
Yeah.
A dab.
No, don't call it that. Don't
No,
start doing
no,
that.
no.
But that's all we got for this episode of Before the Score, episode 14. We hope to have Rich Zeller on here as an interview in 2 weeks. We'll have more information on that on our
Kicking Dan's
Instagram
song.
page. Dan, good luck on your internship. We'll miss you in studio for a
Yep,
couple
thank you.
weeks. And everybody just stay safe out
That was
there.
a wild
Coronavirus
show.
ain't
Wild
nothing to
show.
joke about.
14.